Nice. Well, welcome, friends, to the Montessori Power Hour. We're kind of softly opening this morning. Everything looks good tech-wise, so...
I think we're good. It's great to have you with us today live, or if you're watching the replay, we're excited to have you with us as well. Today we're continuing our four-part series on the magic of Montessori. What a surprise for something called the Montessori Power Hour. No, but we were talking about kind of why I think this series has been about the sense of the roadblocks we put up and that prevent us from trying out Montessori. You know, and we've had episodes on I think materials we've talked about, things like that. It's a common theme for us at the Power Hour because it is one of the biggest challenges that we have. And today we're talking specifically about that sense of perfectionism is how I would put it. But I don't know. What do you think?
We're talking about hesitancy.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like you wanted to do Montessori, but you're just not jumping in yet, we want to dig into why that is happening and how you can overcome it.
Yeah.
Your new quest to do Montessori at home.
That's right. So let's just go on and jump on in as people are filtering in. It's great to have you. Pop your questions or comments in the chat as always, and we'll try and get to those. Yeah, let's kick it off. You just mentioned it yourself. So if you are feeling the pull toward Montessori homeschooling, why are you hesitating?
Yeah, maybe you've been thinking, oh, I want to do Montessori, but I've got to do a lot of research first. Or I've heard that I should read should get a copy of The Absorbent Mind by Maria Montessori and start my research there. Or maybe you just keep perusing social media or blogs and keep thinking, I'm going to get around to that. But maybe it's like, maybe we're not really homeschooling yet, so I'll wait another year. This is a very common thing that we hear from parents when they first come to us at Child of the Redwoods. Sometimes we get some emails that are just like teaser emails, like, I'm not really ready, because it feels like it's a lot, but like if I were ready, what would that look like?
Yeah.
And so whenever I get an email like that, I know that like this parent wants to do Montessori.
Yeah.
But there is like something is preventing them from going in full force. And I have some ideas about what it might be.
Yeah, totally. You know, because waiting doesn't in fact make it easier. It actually can just make it harder because it's like anything else that we delay because we're a little anxious to engage with it. It just compounds and compounds and compounds, right? So there's no better time than now to start, no matter where you are in your Montessori journey. If you've been doing it forever but then took a long break and you're kind of wondering if you should come back, the answer is yes. If you've never tried it before but you've been curious, the answer is yes. If you are struggling and you've been at it for a little while and it's just not clicking, or you feel like it's not clicking and you're ready to give up, but you're like, should I just give it one more chance? The answer is yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about where that temptation comes from and some of the things that might be going on in your mind while you're in this little limbo in between doing Montessori fully with your whole heart and not quite doing Montessori. So the first thing I think of a lot is parents come to us and they just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And maybe they may even, sometimes I ask them like, well, are you familiar with Montessori? And they're like, yes, absolutely. I've read the Montessori Toddler. I've, read, maybe even bought myself a copy of The Absorbent Mind. I've been reading blogs. Maybe I bought myself some Montessori toys that, I saw a label Montessori online. But I know I do know Montessori, really. And I'm like, okay, so tell us about those first steps. And they're like, well, there's just like a lot. And I know I'm supposed to prepare this whole environment and buy all of the materials and then get the lessons, but just wow, I just haven't done it. And it just I don't even know what to do first. I mean, we hear this all the time. This is the period where they're in it. And so, what this tells me is a couple things. Like, one, they're desperate for one, like someone to just give them the first step, which we do in our program. And the second is like that they have done all this work and they're not validating their own learning process. Like, they probably would love taking one of our Foundations of Montessori courses.
Yeah.
It comes with a certificate. Like, it gives you that extra validation.
Yeah, we even
sometimes.
added in quizzes, like self-check type quizzes, which we didn't originally have.
That's right.
Because it's not to our kind of general idea of how learning is best. But in this environment and with, after we worked with lots of folks in this sort of digital environment, we realized that that form of assessment can be validating.
That's right.
And really useful. And so, if you join us at either the complete or unlimited level, you get access to both the Foundations of Primary and the Foundations of Lower Elementary course, self-paced course, and they include journals, learning journal prompts, quizzes, a certificate, things that'll kind of help pace you through it and give you a little bit of that validation.
Yes. I see we've got some good questions in there. I just want to give a shout out to, do we see Jessie? Hi,
yes.
Jessie.
Yeah.
And wonderful. I love those questions. Whatever you're asking over there, I can't see David's screen.
These are good questions and we will handle those in just a second. Yeah.
Hold on to that. So, so I don't know where to start, but I have feeling the call to do Montessori is like something we hear a whole lot. But even if parents are willing to take that very first step, something else that's preventing them from doing it is the fear of doing it wrong.
Totally.
And I actually know this for a fact because I don't know if those of you who might be watching out there remember the first probably like 7 times I taught Homeschool of the Redwoods, which became our Foundations of Montessori Primary course. I would throw out a survey, like a getting to know you survey at the beginning of every single session and ask a billion questions about like, why are you doing this? What do you want to get out of it? And it really was for my own knowledge about like who's coming and what are their needs. And I really wanted to make sure. And so I ended up with massive amounts of data about, what's preventing you from taking this first step. And when I analyzed it, when we looked through, just the commonality is just like your literal words are, I'm afraid of doing it wrong, or I'm afraid I'm going to get it wrong. And there were like hundreds of variations of that same phrase coming up from brand new to Montessori parents, or even parents who have been knowing about Montessori but haven't really taken that big first step yet. So I'm seeing just like what I see is parents wanting to take that step and then rethinking it or overthinking, how complex that step is going to be.
Right.
And so like you can imagine, like you're thinking, if you come to Montessori thinking that you have to prepare an entire beautiful classroom space before you can even teach a single lesson to your child, who can hold themselves up to that standard? Like very, very few parents. And if you are able to hold yourself up to that particular standard, you probably, like, there are a lot of people out there who will like hire an interior decorator, a Montessori guide to come in and like make a purchasing list of everything to buy. And that, like, it takes money. It takes money and it takes time. And it's difficult to do alone by yourself. And so what happens is, like, if we hold this high ideal for, just everyone, then like most of us aren't going to reach it. Just because of privilege and because, we're busy parents with our own lives and lots to do. And it's just your standards are just too high.
Yeah, and within what you're saying, we're hearing a lot of the kind of common roadblocks we throw up. People are worried about the cost, right? They're worried about there are just too many things to have in their mind. They feel overwhelmed by the number of choices. Like, I have pink towers and I have movable alphabets, and when do I introduce this? And there's so many lessons. You hear a hesitancy about having the right background. Maybe you didn't go to college. Maybe you went to college, but you didn't study education. Maybe you studied education, but it was a Montessori. There's always one more thing that can like be an excuse. At the end of the day, it is kind of what you're coming down to. We're holding ourselves to an impossibly high standard.
Yeah.
We talked about this last week with the danger of influencer culture, which can create an unrealistic expectation. Now, there are great social media accounts out there that give really great advice, but there is also a lot in social media and in our broader culture, reality TV and so forth, that creates an unrealistic expectation of
Right.
what the world looks like and how you're supposed to conduct yourself, and it is poisonous because it keeps us from engaging and saying, I'm probably going to fail and that's okay. We never see the failure. We always see the success or the overcoming or whatever. And that's just not learning, and trying are messy, and we have to be brave.
That's right. Yeah, you mentioned failure, and failure is actually really important for the learning process at any age.
That's right.
And so, as curriculum creators, there is a part of us like we want you to fail a little bit, just enough until you learn some better teaching techniques.
Well, you have to fail meaningfully, right?
Right. And the beautiful thing about being in a supportive community while you're trying new things, and I can bring this back to the pottery analogy. Before I was able to make a single mug, I flopped clay probably hundreds of times. I would failed pots, or I would try and attach a handle. And while it was drying, this is a very common potter's mistake, the handle separates from the body, the actual cup of the mug. Nobody knows this, unless you actually try pottery and you're making mugs, but it's very well known to experienced potters that that's a newbie problem. your handle doesn't stick to your cup because you didn't time the drying process perfectly, or you didn't secure it perfectly. And so what happens is the handle dries at a different rate because it's thinner, and maybe you made it a different time than the actual mug itself. The mug dries a little bit slower, and if the two aren't exactly equal in both temperature and humidity and pliability, then they won't fuse, or they'll just start to
That's
separate.
a great
And
analogy,
so it's beautiful, and it shocked me the first time it happened. I was like, what happened to my handle, and what do I do about this? And I was like, can I fix it? And the answer was, not really. You can't really fix it once it has separated, but you can learn from the process. And so I set on my quest was I'm going to learn how to gauge the right temperature. And so it's the same with children. When we first start teaching, of course we're going to have a lesson that flops. You're going to give that first pink tower lesson and think it's going to be all magical, and
You might have more flops than successes at first, in fact.
And then the truth is, it doesn't matter to children if your lessons are flopping. They're watching you be brave and try something new, and you're learning, and you're going to get better as you go. And it's just so wonderful to have a supportive community around you while you're being vulnerable in this learning process.
That's right.
So, it is a lot, and I get it. And so that's why we're going to talk about why this is the right time for you. If you've been feeling like these are the kind of things that are preventing you from jumping in, we want you to know this, then that's a sign that this is the right time for you to jump in.
That's right.
You should use this wishful momentum to push you into the next stage. And David is going to talk about how to adopt the right kind of mindset to help you be successful.
Yeah. But first, I do want to answer this question
love
from
it.
our viewer. We have Jessie. She says first, how do you know when to switch from primary to elementary curriculum? I have a 3.5-year-old and a daughter who will be 7 in November. I'm currently using primary for both.
Yeah.
She goes on, my 7-year-old has delays, but she was in public school last year for kindergarten. This is my first year homeschooling her.
Oh, congrats.
And then it concludes, I did your curriculum with my 3.5-year-old and started it last year, and I feel like for math, at least, they are at the same level. Totally possible.
Yeah, totally possible.
So, yeah, and I think this is actually related to this concept of fear. I'm not necessarily saying you're afraid to start, but you are asking, it's a good question.
Yeah.
And it goes to that sense of like, I don't have the knowledge, and what if I get it wrong? And how could my 3.5-year-old and my 7-year-old be learning similar math concepts? And the kind of the short answer to take it in parts, the transition from primary to lower elementary is not a switch. Now,
Right.
in traditional schooling, like you experienced with your 7-year-old when she went to kindergarten or first grade, it's very clear. Like a 6-year-old is in this class and a 7-year-old is in that class, and if you're 8, you might be in between, depending not on your skill or knowledge or background or readiness, but on your birthday. That's how we assign kids to grades. Like they're in a certain grade level, in America at least, they're in a certain grade level based on their birth date. So I was the oldest for myself. I was the oldest kid, one of the oldest kids in my class, because I have an October birthday, early October. It's very soon, in fact. And so my parents could have pushed, like cajoled the school into letting me start earlier, and then I would have been the youngest. But instead, they started me later because that's just the nature of my birthday. Does that have anything to do with like my readiness, my skill? Kind of. Like being older, especially as a boy, has an advantage academically and from a maturity perspective, but it has nothing really to do with like why your grade level. Now you were the opposite. Your birthday is actually today.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Aubrey. And you were one of the youngest in your class because your parents took the other side.
That's right. I neither of us were put ahead or behind, but it's just like by the nature of where our birthdays were, our parents could have pushed the school to make different choices.
That's right.
And mine decided, like, let's go ahead and start her, even though she has a September 23rd birthday, technically after the start of school. And I was the youngest in my class the whole time.
Yeah, so all of that's kind of preamble is to say that grade levels, especially when we're coming from public school or private schools that follow grading, grade levels are arbitrary. They have some loose relationship to developmental stages because generally children go through different developmental periods at roughly the same time. Like that's why we in Montessori can identify like the first plane is 0 to 6, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But it's not exact. It's always dependent on the individual child. That's why we do have primary and lower L, but we don't think of them, and we're increasingly moving away from that mindset to focusing on levels. So your 7-year-old and your 4-year-old or 3.5-year-old, they might be in the same level for math. Depends on what kind of prior experience they had, their own natural inclination and ability for mathematics or reading or science or art or penmanship or whatever it is, because children will vary, right? It's just how it is. And there's no shame or anything necessarily wrong with a child who's 7 and still working on some foundational, let's say level 2 or level 3 math concepts, just because a younger sibling is also working on those same concepts.
That's right.
It doesn't have anything necessarily to do with our long-term ability to do math, in this case. It has nothing to do with their overall, with your quality of teaching them or your use of the materials. It is all about their individual unique self, and you're matching them to the level. So the answer to when do you transition from primary to lower elementary is if she's 7, she's probably in the second plane of development, and you want to take that Foundations of Lower Elementary course and understand what a lower elementary aged child developmentally is experiencing. That's a moral age, it's a journey to abstraction. They're moving out of the sensitive period for sensorial learning, right? So those are things that are true in general for children at that age.
And they can learn all of that in the very first unit of the course.
That's right.
So you don't have to take the entire course in order to get it.
Just take the first unit of the self-paced course.
Yeah, go ahead and take that first unit because it'll give you a lot of insight. And no matter what level you're teaching your child lessons at, you'll be able to modify your approach slightly to meet the developmental needs of your 7. Is that where you were kind of going with that?
Absolutely right. Yeah, so I know this is a little bit of, I don't think this is a stretch to tie this back to our starting point, because
Yeah.
this is actually one of those knowledge areas. We have an expectation of how schools should work because we've been inundated with it through our media, movies, TV. We probably went to traditional schools ourselves. Some of us were homeschooled. I wasn't, you weren't, right? We went to traditional public school. We were traditional public school teachers. We're, like I said, all of the world, at least if you're an American, you're kind of surrounded with like what school is supposed to look like.
Right.
And then when we think about what we're being asked or trying to do with something like Montessori, it doesn't match. And then we get really inconfident. And at the end of the day, you're following your child. So if you're giving them activities from the leveled curriculum and from the thematic packs that are satisfying them and is challenging to them, it doesn't matter necessarily what age they are compared to the level.
That's right.
It's that they're learning, and there'll be some things that they'll start to go faster. Like you may find, as an example, that once you kind of work through some more of the foundational concepts in mathematics, it starts to click faster for your 7-year-old because she's in a different plane of being. She's in that second stage, second plane. And so that the ability to do higher level abstract thinking that's available to a second plane child and not to a first plane child could be like an accelerant, or it might not be.
Yeah.
And either way is fine.
Yeah. I would also encourage you to, just keep trucking along with the reading and the math, and, especially, kind of use your own judgment about whether your child is ready for the grammar curriculum yet or not. But don't hesitate to jump into the physical science and life science portions of lower elementary, because we actually cover those 2 units first. Physical science is actually the groundwork for our lower elementary program, the whole thing. It goes along with that very first grade lesson. And so I would say, like, if your child is 7, even if they're a little developmentally young or still working through some of the more foundational concepts in academic subjects like reading and math, there's no reason that you can't move on through in the physical science curriculum.
Yeah, totally.
And that actually might enhance your learning with your young one, actually might enjoy participating. There's a whole lot of experiments. It's very hands-on. And we actually pull a lot of those lessons for our themes,
Yeah, like
and
how?
to kind of integrate them in. And so you might actually recognize some things if you've been using our themes that are already in the lower elementary curriculum.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that you've been doing a lot of lower L with your child through the thematic
both
studies
children.
with both children without even really realizing how much of it.
Yeah, totally.
So I would really just encourage you, like, go ahead and jump in to that first unit in the Foundations course.
Yeah, for sure. I hope that helps. Feel free to ask clarifying questions or let us know. It's a great question. It's super
It's a very
relevant
common question, yeah.
to today. In fact, actually, this is a great way to transition, I think, into some habits of mind that we came up with that might help for those of us, all of us, every human being on the earth, who can sometimes be a little bit overwhelmed by fear, doubt, the oppressive sense of being perfect, that it's so easy for us to get in that trap. We have to put that away. Easier said than done, for sure. But there are some habits of mind that we could adopt that will help. So the first one I want to highlight is that Montessori is a skill set. It's not a quick fix, right? So you can memorize the lessons, although it would be a lot to memorize. You can memorize the scope and sequence. You can read the books. But it's not going to be, you can even follow like the constellation, like you get our constellation pack and you work through it. It will quickly get you into doing Montessori lessons. But Montessori more broadly is not found in the materials. It's not found in the printables. It's in the philosophy and the theory. And that is a skill that you continually hone no matter how long you work at it. So don't think that just because you tried something out with Montessori, you prepared, let's say you did HAL and you were doing our fun fractions, like our Wolfpack fraction activity, and this is in our October theme pack, and it just, like, your kids didn't get it, and you're like, well, that didn't work. I guess either I don't know how to do it, or it wasn't good, or something like. It may be because the time wasn't right. It may be because you just practiced enough. You didn't know how to make the handle dry at the same rate as the body of the cup.
Right.
Who knows? Because it's not a quick fix.
Right.
It's a mindset that you come back to again and again, and you will have flop lessons, even if it seems like it's an open and go type approach. There's no, you're not going to be satisfied and get satisfactory results. So your mindset has to be, I'm working on a skill. This is a lifestyle. It's not a fix a flat, right? This is, I'm learning how to ride my bicycle long distance, not I'm repairing a chain, right? Preparing the chain is the quick fix. What you're working on is the sustained energy, building the muscles, getting into the mindset, leaning into the joy. That habit of mind is critical. Another one is that you need to be open to growing and learning along with your child. We have an expectation in society that the teacher is the sage, the font of all knowledge and wisdom. When we homeschool or when we're a parent, even not homeschooling, we can feel that pressure. It's very, very hard for us sometimes to say, I don't know. That level of humility it feels scary, especially when you're working with children, because we have a sense that it shows weakness, and then they won't respect us, and then like it's all, it's bedlam after that. But that is not necessarily the case. Now, what causes those problems is when you're inconsistent. So when you are firm one day and then lax another, or like you're firm and then you relent when they whine a lot or something, like that's what creates that's what sours a relationship. Not your willingness to say, I'm not sure. Not your willingness to make mistakes. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. You want to show, as a habit of mind, curiosity and a desire to continue to learn. So your child says something that you don't know the answer to. Let's say, I'll give you a real world example. Our kids are older, but it's exactly the same. One of our sons is studying physics. I haven't studied physics in 35 years or more, if I ever studied it at all. I can't remember. I'm having to learn it along with him. But actually what I've decided to do is to lean into that. And so when we're solving physics problems, and he's a high school student, so when we're solving physics problems and I have to look up the answer, we do it together. And then I explain the thinking, like, I'm going to look up the answer so that I can work backwards, because I'm also learning with you.
Yeah, I'm going to give you another example that's really relevant for our younger learners, because we don't offer a high school curriculum.
No.
But we do have a very substantial botany program that's both in our lower elementary and our primary lessons. It appears in the life science subject area. And so a lot of what we do is classifying and identifying botanical features of plants and types of botanicals that are in your garden. And so often as a parent of young children, I would know I'm supposed to be teaching botany. This is a very important subject in Montessori that we want our children to explore and learn. But I would go into the park and I'd be like, I don't know the names of any of these plants. And my children were very curious. They'd be like, what's this, Mommy? What's this, Mommy? Are these the same plant or are they different? And they're asking good questions. And I was always like, I have no clue, because botany isn't a subject that I ever studied very, seriously. My background's not in biology or the sciences, and I don't have extended experience in gardening either. So I bought myself a book about botany, and we would take it with us when we went to the park, if we wanted to, if we were in the mood to. And then as our children were exploring plants or just playing, on the playground, I would get out my botany book and just start reading about different kinds of plants and trying to identify the ones that I could see around me. And there were all kinds of plants that I had seen my whole life that I never knew the name of or what botanical family they belonged to. And as I was going through this journey, my children were witnessing me learning about the same subjects that they were curious about, and then they would, continue to ask questions, and then I would direct them to like, let's look it up in the book, or let's look it up online. Our phones are really great botanical resources as well.
Totally.
You
It's a
can,
great use.
yeah. So these are examples of the approach that we actually encourage in Montessori. And if you have this, if you have adopted this mindset of, I'm going to learn as I go, and it's okay for my child to see me not doing something perfectly the first time. It's okay to tell my child that I don't know the answer to something and that I have to look it up. This is not a sign of that you're that you don't have enough teacher knowledge or that you're not smart enough. Like, these are not signs of that. This is a mindset where you are trying to train yourself to see yourself as a growing teacher individual. Like, you are becoming a guide. Your child is becoming very slowly an adult. They're very slowly on their path to adulthood. And so the two of you are learning and growing together, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Absolutely right. Okay, here's another habit of mine I want you to really get in there, and that is that sensitive periods are happening all the time. And what is a sensitive period? It's in Montessori, we say that a child enters periods of receptiveness to certain concepts as they mature, and it's related to their neurological development and their control over their senses and how they process information, their ability to do like pincher grip, or their ability to start to see order or distinguish between the sizes of things, right? These are all examples of sensitive periods that a child will go through. And again, it's not universal, but it's close enough in general that we can more or less say like a 3-year-old will have have sensitive periods that align with this versus, let's say, a 7-year-old. Now again, not exact, but in general. Why is this important? Well, it's important in part because even though your child cannot articulate it, this is the secret of childhood. This is what Maria called the secret of childhood. They cannot understand, recall, articulate why it's happening. They will be driven to it. If you see your child lining up his cars, you're seeing the expression of a sensitive period. He's not doing it because he's trying to show you he has a sensitive period for order. His mind and body just crave it.
Right.
And so it's always happening whether you lean in or not. And so when we wait for the perfect time, it's probably past. So this isn't to make you feel like FOMO. It's to say, like, just lean in and do it.
Yeah.
They're happening regardless. Your children are starving for it. Do your best, even if it's not perfect. Trying matters because, like, the river is flowing.
Right.
It doesn't stop.
I think parents often worry about this FOMO is real to them. The fear of missing out on a sensitive period. It is actually Googleable. If you Google online, you're going to find so many parents worrying about missing sensitive periods. And you're going to also encounter a lot of advice about, like, here's what's going to happen if you miss the sensitive period. Don't miss it. Don't miss it.
Scare quotes.
I know it's a little fear mongering, but the fear is real.
Sure.
And so we want to reassure you that if you're feeling this FOMO, it's not bad to feel like you're worrying that you might miss out. The solution to this is to jump in, learn about the sensitive periods, and then you won't feel like you're missing out anymore.
And if you can't identify all the sensitive periods, it's okay.
It's fine. They're happening regardless.
Exactly. The child will learn. That's another of Maria's discoveries, right? The child has this incredible ability to self-teach. And we can aid in that process through the prepared environment and through our understanding. But you don't have to feel FOMO because the child is going to work through those things. They want to experience the sensitivity. They're going to experience these sensitive periods and engage with it. And whether you do something about it or not.
Well, I was going to say that by learning more about the sensitive periods, it can help you to not feel that FOMO anymore.
Yes, that's
because
good.
you'll just understand what your child is going through. So from we teach in the Foundations of Primary course. It's really important to learn about the sensitive periods, but it's like a theory. It's theoretical. It's kind of ethereal.
Yeah.
It's healthy for your knowledge as a guide, but you're not looking for like a very specific activity or a specific moment in your child's time. You're looking to understand the nature of your child.
Yeah, and that actually leads to another habit of mind that we wanted to bring up, which is that your confidence will come through doing, not reading. Now, this as a Beatle fan, this reminds me of Jeremy from Yellow Submarine, the little creature who knows everything and spouts poetry. If you've ever seen
Nowhere Man.
Yes, the Nowhere Man, exactly. So if you've ever seen that movie, it's a great one. Kids like it too. It's fun, and there's a character that the cartoon Beatles come across, and his name is Jeremy, and he's the Nowhere Man from the song Nowhere Man. And he knows everything. He's got all these PhDs and everything else, and yet he's never really lived. He's a Nowhere Man. You only really learn by doing. You can read and read and read and read and read, and that's great. You can fill your head with lots of theoretical concepts, like you were saying, but it's not until you actually get out there and do it. So to go back to your example, I don't know how to do this. I can read about it, she's told me about it, but until I actually go to a studio and try and figure it out and figure out the timing myself and have that own sense, like the clock inside, I will never be able to grow as a potter. No matter how many videos I watch or books I read or times I think about it, like those are important, but you can't do it without the actual practice, right? So they have that old study about like people who thought about sinking basketballs did better than people who didn't think about sinking basketballs. You still have to know how to shoot a hoop, right? You still have to get out on the court and try. It's the same with teaching. Another habit of mind is to remember that the curriculum is layered and sequential. We talk about cosmic education, we talk about big picture education, we talk about a spiraling curriculum. You may have heard us use those terms or you may have come across them. They're all variations of saying that in learning and in Montessori, the way we teach it, it really leverages this. You're building from one thing to the next.
Right.
You're learning a concept and then using that to learn something else. So I assume that once you learned how to make a handle stick to a cup, you were able to use that same knowledge to work with clay in other ways. Even if you didn't necessarily, because you're not a pedagogist, a curriculum creator, something like that, know that actually you were applying the skills, that's what you were doing. Now, you probably did because this is your bailiwick is teaching and learning theory. So you were like, oh, I know that I'm going to apply this skill. That is how learning works. And in the Montessori curriculum, it is designed that way. So this is actually goes back to Jesse's question about the primary to lower L. It is layered. And so we have the way we are approaching that is through a leveled curriculum. You have the 10 subject areas are covered through the level curriculum. The 6 levels that run through it, they build one to the next, and not just within subjects. So you will, let's say, for example, learn some concrete things in level 3, life science, that will then lead to level 4. Let's say you're learning about, I'll take a simpler example. You'll learn about living and non-living in level 1, I think it is. And then in level 2, you start to introduce the concept of like mammals and so forth. And then in level 3, you start to kind of dig. And by the time you get to life science, you're studying the classifications and the different types of animal kingdoms.
Yeah.
It's a compounding, building, scaffolding experience. That's very clear. But it also then ties to other skills you're learning in the other academic areas.
Yeah.
So if your mindset is this is a layered curriculum, it's sequenced, it builds and builds and builds, there will be repetition, there will be re-practice again and again, it could take away some of that fear and FOMO because they're not going to do it one time. You're going to teach this concept again and again. And when you teach a subsequent concept, if you see gaps, let's say you're introducing a CVC words and your child isn't quite getting CVC words, you're going to look in the curriculum and you say, what are a predecessor skill oh, I see. I really just need to focus more on sounds. So I'm going to do more sound work because that is going to build the foundation necessary. And this is why the level is better than a grade level. This is why a 7-year-old could be working on level 2 activities because they need to build some foundational skills, but those foundational skills will spiral into bigger ideas.
Yeah, I think that it is tempting to wait when our children are very little. Sometimes we think, I have a 2-year-old who's not ready for real school yet. But if you look at our level 1 curriculum, it is very accessible for young children. You know, what a lot of what we're doing here, we're really big, we're really big on practical life.
Well, this is our new scope and sequence. We put together a new scope and sequence document. It's in our member site.
Yeah, so I just want to show like the difference between like practical life is huge in level 1, and this is perfect for our youngest learners. You know, so people often come to me, they're like, I've got a 2-year-old, but it's really too young to begin, right? Like, no, there's so much that they can learn and that they can do even at this very young age. And you don't have to teach every single lesson at this age, but these level 1 activities are very accessible. And if you take a look at even like math, it's very, very simple. We've got counting rhymes, counting out loud, rote counting. But guess what? If you wait until your child is much older, let's say like we had that 2-year-old, we wanted to start Montessori, but we didn't. And then they turned 3 and we're like, oh, I can piece together some practical life activities that I see from the web. That seems pretty easy enough. Don't need to buy a curriculum for that. Your child's now age 4 and you're like, okay, like I should be doing Montessori, right? And then you look at the curriculum and you realize, oh, wait, there's a lot of foundational work that I didn't teach that I could have taught over the last 2 years, but I didn't because I wasn't jumping in. And so, you know, as curriculum creators, as Montessori advocates, we want you to go ahead and start because we know that this curriculum is amazing.
It is.
And, you know, there are, especially if we're talking about our lower elementary curriculum, like there are lower L lessons that are so much fun. One of my favorites is the level 5 grammar. It's like, this is where we really get into grammar lessons, and you can't really tell by the titles, but like we have, you know, we're learning plural spelling rules, which is actually something that we're featuring in Howl right now.
Yeah, that's right.
We're doing a lot of transposition of words and sentences. We're learning more about like conjunctions, and there's just like so much. And these lessons are fun. But if you don't start Montessori, then you won't get to them.
Well, you
Right?
say something
Like-
that is really, I want to bring up that I sometimes forget myself.
Yeah.
Everybody starts at level 1,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's important. Like if you have a 4-year-old, they will progress through level 1 very quickly.
Yeah, they will.
You probably just like skip along until you find the spot where they are. And that might be in level 2, it might be in level 3, and it might vary by subject area. But everybody starts at level 1. So when we delay, it just sort of, it's not the end of the road. Like, I want to be clear on that. I don't want people to feel that FOMO is like going to keep them from trying.
No.
But at the same time, like, there's no better time to start than now.
I like to think of it as like there's lots of fun ahead.
There is lots of fun
So
ahead.
if you don't get started in Montessori now, when you have the motivation and you're really interested, like there's so many fun lessons to give. Like you're just delaying a whole lot of fun that you can have with your kid, and a whole lot of very fascinating and really interesting lessons that you could be giving. You know, so you know, we can can you stay in the primary curriculum like levels 1 through 3 for a longer with a lower L age child?
Sure.
Yes, you can. They're rich, they're inviting, they're interesting. People used to ask me, or sometimes they still do, they're like, well, what level would my kindergartner be? You know, if I have a 5-year-old, what level would they be? And I think, you know, when I taught kindergarten, I taught 5-year-olds, I started with level 1.
Yeah.
Like that's where I started. And, you know, through the year, because I was preparing them for first grade in a public school, I knew I needed to accelerate them through the primary curriculum in 1 year, you know, which we could do with most of the kids. Like I could accelerate them through, but they all had to start with level 1 to get that foundation.
Because it's a spiraling.
If they had never had Montessori before. Now, if they had gone to a Montessori school and they had had a lot of these lessons, I could assess them and I'd be like, I see what lessons your teacher's been giving you. And, you know, looking at our curriculum now, I'd be like, like you're working on level 3 lessons. You know, this is your kindergarten year. You've already done a lot of the foundational work. I can just plop you right into working on word blends right away, you know, or you've probably been doing working with the golden beads. I would assess yep, they're doing a 4-digit addition problems because they've been in a Montessori program.
So you'll find
and
that
so I
in
would
our
just
scope and sequence.
Pop them right there. So if you have had your child in a Montessori program and you're pulling them out to homeschool them for that kindergarten year, which a lot of families who join us do, you can find your child's level.
For sure.
Okay, you'll just give them some brief assessments at the beginning. You'll look through the list of lessons and you'll be like, my child's on level 2 in this subject and level 4 in the subject, whatever it is. It won't be that hard. But if your child has never done Montessori before, and that's kind of what we're talking about in this section, like parents who just aren't starting, then this is the time. Go ahead and jump into level 1. You won't regret it. You know, you're going to have these lessons in level 1 are easy. You're going to ease your way into Montessori.
They're fun.
They're fun, yeah.
They're very hands-on.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just awesome. And yeah, so there's no time like the present. Yasmin has a comment. She says, I do that. The cards help greatly with that and the new scope and sequence document. Thank you.
Yeah.
We released this just a few weeks ago. It was actually, it came about. We have, of course, our scope and sequence is also on our cards. We have it in a digital format, but you know, we loved working with our community really closely, and they wanted to have something a little more printable, and so we created this this new version by level. And Yasmin, I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it. She says, if I feel unsure what comes next or we have a hang up somewhere, I look before again to see what we can do to revisit. And that is perfect. That is exactly what we want you to do. You're assessing your child using observation, and then you're using your understanding of the Montessori philosophy, and then looking in that scope and sequence or on your cards, and you're saying, okay, what's the predecessor skill? All right.
That's right. So the most powerful, to kind of sum up here, the most powerful thing that you can do if Montessori is kind of niggling at you is to just go ahead and start. And the easiest way to do that, friends, I'm going to be completely honest with you, is to either join our complete curriculum plan or our unlimited plan. If you join unlimited, you're going to get the extra coaching. And if you are feeling especially a little bit nervous about doing this experience, I highly recommend that you join the coaching experience.
We're straight shooters here. We offer both, but we hear consistently, and over the years we've seen that, especially for people who are newer to it, the coaching is a huge benefit. It goes back to those first causes of doubt, which is insecurity. Yeah. So within the self-paced material and within the scope and sequence, there's a lot of support, kind of a control of error for adults. But that coaching will build a kind of cohort of support as well. And so you get that emotional support. So if you can't join us for Unlimited, now is actually a great time. We're still very early in the coaching season. You can watch the replay for both the orientation and for our September sessions, and you will be able to join us live for everything going forward.
That's right. The other thing that we recommend that you do if you are wanting to just get started right now is you don't have to wait until you have taken a whole course or learned the Montessori method. That is why we publish these themes, and we publish almost one pretty much every single month of the year. Yep. Our current year, we've got this scoped out all the way through
next December.
Well, I was going to say we're going to have a summer spectacular.
Oh, that's true.
So you're going to have the whole academic year covered with, a theme coming out every single month all the way through May. Yep. And then for summer, we'll be doing other fun things, but we'll also be doing thematic learning as well.
Always.
And then the next year will be just as fun. We get to take the whole Montessori curriculum, pick and choose, but among these foundational lessons, and then we just get to have fun and play with it and create these really playful, engaging thematic experiences.
Totally.
And the beauty of these themes is that you don't have to do any studying of Montessori before starting. We actually tell you right off the bat, like we give you a schedule. So, you've got your weekly to-do list of what to teach when. So if you're wondering, like, how do I go about teaching this whole theme? Like, we've already got you covered. We tell you what lessons, in what order.
Materials
Yeah.
that you need.
We also have, we have a materials list for you. A lot of parents ask about, like, are you going to tell me what I need to get or buy? And the answer is yes.
Almost always, it's just very common materials. We emphasize DIY.
We've got a recommended literature list for you to pick out books that go along with a theme, and this literature list is very important. But then, when it really comes down to it, you're just going to print this out, and every single lesson is very, very explicitly written for you with beautiful graphics, to show you like what to do, and I'll show you on the next page. This is a cute lesson called Wolves Howling at the Moon, because our theme, of course, is howl, and we're studying wolves this month. And you can just see, like, everything is scripted. Like, we tell you what to say and what to do in every single lesson. And this is not to box you in or restrict you from being creative and
going off script.
Yeah, go off script if you like. But
Improv.
we have learned that a lot of parents, especially busy parents, maybe you have a toddler in the, a toddler, a baby in the mix, or an older child too. Like, your mental load is real. It's big. We know this intimately as parents. It's a juggle. It's a juggle just to get food in the fridge and make sure that somebody has clean underwear to wear the next day. Like, it's a juggle. Yeah. And so our job is to take as much off your plate curriculum-wise as possible. And so all of our activities are DIY focused in our themes. Although in our foundational lessons, we will list all the lessons for the classic Montessori sensorial materials and the golden beads. There's and all of that.
2,000 foundational lessons.
Yes, you'll have what you need. But the themes are probably your easiest beginning.
Yeah, and in fact, that's how we suggest our system works, is that if you're new, or even if you have Montessori experience, but you're new to the Child of the Redwoods, or you're introducing your child to this new system for the first time, here's what you do. You're going to take whatever the theme is of the month, or your theme of choice. There's over 50 in our library. This coming month is Howl. The current month, right now, we're finishing up Apple. And so what are you going to do? For about a month, you're just going to work on constellation with your kids, and you're going to learn by doing the Montessori method. And concurrent with that, you're going to start working through one of the self-paced courses, primary or lower L. And if you're in coaching, you're going to join that as well. So first step, you're going to print out that first theme pack and prep it out. You're going to start introducing those weekly lessons using the planning cards. And concurrently, you're going to start to familiarize yourself, step 2, with the Montessori method. Step 3, you're going to make sure you're in the community and starting to connect with other parents who are doing the exact same thing as you. We have a wonderful private community. It's not hosted on any of the big platforms. So it's a real great safe space that's completely focused on Montessori parenting and teaching. We're in there, of course, answering questions, but actually we have some amazing alumni, some of whom I know are in our live right now, who are so awesome about sharing feedback, ideas, encouragement. I just love seeing the DIY club. I love seeing the multilingual club in action. It's amazing. I love it. I love it. So some really awesome stuff going on there. So that's your third step. And only after you've started to learn the method and kind of connected with others are you going to start to introduce those foundational lessons.
Right.
And you're going to start to bring in just a few at a time. You're going to use our card system to help you limit and control that introduction process. And then you're going to repeat. And so that fifth step is you just go on and on and on and adjust. And by using those 5 steps over the course of about 4 to 6 weeks, you will walk yourself into success. And it starts with one step. Don't let no or doubt stop you. print the lesson, try it out, be confident. If it doesn't work, use the community, learn the theory. You got it.
That's right. Beautiful. Well, friends, this is how you move forward if you're stuck and not quite doing Montessori, how to get yourself up and running. Next week, we are going to do something special.
We are.
We are actually hosting an Ask Us Anything
AMA.
episode. Yeah. So it's been a little while since we had one of those episodes, so we figured it was about time. So if you're a member in our community, of course, please, post your question under the
We'll start
event.
a post for it, and you.
Or they can post it under the Power Hour
that's
event,
right.
and that would be great. We'll keep track of it there.
If you want
And
to be anonymous, you can email us. Or you're not in our community, you can email us.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. And the best email to reach us at is hello@childoftheredwoods.com.
Totally. And we will take as many questions as we can in the time we have.
That's right.
So all questions are welcome. And that'll be, make sure you get those questions to us by next Monday, the 29th, so that we have time to prepare. And then we'll see you on the 30th.
Yep.
Now, I know we're doing an AMA.
Yes.
But I think we should do an ARA as well.
What is that?
I think you mean Ask Rabbit Anything.
Yes. Absolutely, we should do an ARA as well.
Oh, yes. Well, I wanted to come by and share my opinion because I
Yes.
think it's what this show needs is the bunny perspective
Absolutely.
featuring me, Mr. Bunny.
Of course.
And the Mr. Bunny perspective is on the latest theme.
Oh, it's on Howl.
That's right. This is a bunny exclusive review.
Well, okay then.
Yes.
All right. Well, Mr.
Okay.
Benny, did you have a chance to review? I know you attended our little welcome to Howl
yes.
with our members in Unlimited, and so you've had a chance to look through some of these great activities. And maybe some
I
of the
did, and they
printables.
were pretty great. So I have a favorite. Now, I like the one where you make the fractions out of the wolf pieces.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
you
I
want
like
me to
that
find that one? I'll
sure,
show it to
sure, we can look
our
at that
friends.
one. Hello out there, Theo, and all my friends. It's good to see you.
Okay, well, I have this one right here. Is this the one that you're talking about?
I like
Where-
this one, yes. And so it's a great way to learn that a whole thing can have parts. And I love learning that.
Yep.
But that was my favorite. Nope. Mm-mm. No, it was not.
No, it
not
wasn't.
my favorite.
Okay.
And I also really liked the one that was about how we have dogs, the history of dogs. Now, as you know, my fans know that I was once very afraid of dogs, but I am
yes.
not afraid of dogs anymore.
You're not.
I'm not. Yes, and this was a great thing to learn. Did you know that dogs were wolves? Wow! And all the dogs we have today came from wolves? Isn't that cool? Oh boy, and now I like that one too, but it was not my favorite.
Oh, it wasn't?
No.
I mean, these dogs are really cute, though.
They are. I mean, you can't deny. But no, the best.
What was your favorite?
It is Trickster Coyote Mask.
Oh, I love that one. Let me find it.
Oh,
It's so cute.
no boy.
Oh, it's,
Yeah, you see,
back here?
I am a friend of a Trickster Coyote myself.
Oh.
That's right. He's always pulling
Here
pranks
it is.
and doing silly things. And so this was awesome to learn about the history of the Trickster Coyote.
Yeah.
Yes, in our folklore from around the world, especially here in America.
I wonder, Mr. Bunny,
And you get to make a mask, and then you get to be a trickster.
I wonder if you would like to wear this mask sometime.
What? You could wear it?
Yes, would you like to?
I would love it.
All right. Well, we will get out our colored pencils and we'll color it and we'll cut it out and we'll punch out the eyes. And maybe you can wear it next time for your AMA.
Oh, Ask Rabbit Anything?
Or Ask Coyote anything. I guess the ACA.
Oh, Ask TCA, Ask Trickster Coyote Anything?
Or Coyote anything.
Wow, I can't wait. All right, well, so I'm giving it 2 carrots up.
2 carrots up. That
That's right.
sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, I will see everybody later. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, thank you, Totally, that Mr. Bunny. I want you to know that they think that the coyote mask would look great on you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I agree.
He's He's excited to hear that.
Yeah.
Now, I know he hasn't been around in a while, but I've heard that he was missed by a few of our fans.
Yes.
And it sounds like Theo is excited. And I know we have some others as well who,
We did.
who have an affection for Mr. Bunny. And we are so happy he could come and share his thoughts. All right. If you have questions for us, you can email us at hello@childoftheredwoods. You can also reach us on our chat when it's available. That's over on our website, childoftheredwoods.com. And remember, next week we're hosting an AMA. And if you have questions that you want answered, anonymously or not, you can email us or post them in the community, or I suppose send a singing telegram.
I guess you could. And finally, if you like what we do here, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. It helps the algorithm get Montessori out there to more people.
It certainly does.
All right.
All right.
Love you all. Mwah.
Take care.